Hello. Today's stories come from r/Am I the Butthole. We have 4 stories today, and I really enjoyed these. I was sorting by Reddit top posts and I thought, hey, it's the holidays. There's gotta be no shortage of ridiculously funny family drama. And Reddit never disappoints. Story 1 is titled, Am I the butthole for doing weird, awkward poses whenever my mother in law accidentally walks in on me in the bathroom? So, my mother in law, I'm a gal by the way, came to stay with us for a few weeks till her home is renovated for Christmas. The problem is that she has been randomly walking in on me while I'm in the bathroom. Thankfully, not once has she seen me naked because I started picking up on her behavior after the second time in a week. She'd barge in, then turns and says, Oh, sorry, then close the door. I tried talking to my husband about it, but he kept ignoring me, then flat out said, so what if she accidentally sees you naked? She's family. He seriously said that. We have a lock, and I could have used it, but I have past trauma from the idea of locking or being locked in a room after my brother locked me in the bathroom when I was 5. So I came up with this idea. I'd go inside the bathroom pretending to use it and wait for her to come. Because honestly, it's deliberate at this point. When she accidentally barges in, she'd see me in a weird, awkward position. For example, doing a ballet stand, standing on the toilet, or standing facing the wall with my hands up, fully clothed, of course. I could see how awkward and weird this would be for her because she'd stand there for a few seconds trying to figure out what I was doing. It was hilarious at first seeing her initial confusion, but she told my husband about it, claiming she's caught me practicing rituals in the bathroom. I cleared things up and revealed the reason why. My husband was livid. He called me childish and said that I made his mom feel terrified and weirded out by my behavior. He said I should have acted maturely and locked the darn door instead of playing mind games. Edit. What? I just came back on here and saw literally thousands of people. Oh my gosh, now I feel embarrassed. Glad I went anonymous. But seriously, I'm looking at my screen and I'm like, I'm famous? Seriously though, my husband and his mom are extremely upset with me. He still thinks it was ridiculous and he is demanding an apology before she goes back to her home. I'm not sure if I will apologize because, yes, while it was a me problem that I couldn't use the lock, it still feels wrong what she did, and maybe I'm wrong too. But at least I got, so did you apparently, a bit of a chuckle out of it. Also, I'm sure Thanksgiving dinner will be hecka awkward tomorrow, especially after what happened. Ah, why? Just why? Who does this? What exactly is the mother in law hoping to catch a glimpse of? This is so weird. Definitely not the butthole. I think it's hilarious. The fact that OP's husband and mother in law were talking about what she was doing in the bathroom, also really weird. Let's check out the comments where Reddit delivers. There are some excellent suggestions for escalation. Jujube said, Not the jerk. You went the funny way, and that's dope. Your husband, however, is a butthole. He expects you to be mature about it, but he doesn't expect his mother to knock on the effing door before walking in? Crafty Zucchini added, I hate victim shamers. Learn how to knock. Tikanique added, Put a big old Polish sausage in your pants and pull it out of the zipper. Stand in front of the toilet and wait. Not the butthole, but definitely the goat for creativity dealing with mother in laws. Fluffy Doubt said, Wait. So he's mad at you because she barges in on you in the bathroom in your home that she is a guest in, but gets mad at you for weirding her out and causing her grief? What? Smiley laughing emojis. It's her fault. She should be knocking and not acting like no one lives there and it's her own house. Girl, go get some jelly, red if you can, and smother it on your face. And when she walks in, eat it like a caveman. Then, when your husband asks, you was stress eating. Haha. Laughing emojis, not the butthole. Shani Sasha said, Humor her. Stop posing, but look at your watch seriously while facing the door like you're waiting for a kid after curfew. Then, sigh disappointedly and shake your head. 14 seconds, mother in law. That's terrible. You will need to do better. Alternatively, shove a towel under the door, not the butthole. If you thought baking cookies was a simple affair, think again with this next family in story 2. Am I the butthole for calling my wife unreasonable for backing out of spending Christmas with my family after my mother rejected her cookie sample? Context. For every holiday, my mother would ask the women in the family, my sisters, sister in law, my wife, my female cousins, to send samples of the desserts they planned to bring to the celebration for testing and to see if these desserts could make it to the food menu. My wife has been complaining about my mother deliberately rejecting every dessert sample she sent. So many times, my mother has told her that she's being honest and keeping the guests' best interest at heart. Yet my wife still thought that my mother is deliberately excluding her since two of her dessert samples were rejected before. For this year's Christmas, my mother is doing the same thing, but this time, she told every woman who are participating to make a cookie sample and send it to her for testing. My wife took it as a challenge, and to be honest, she worked really hard to make a good sample and sent it to my mother days ago. And the results just came in yesterday. I came home from work and found my wife upset. I asked what's wrong, and she told me that my mother rejected the sample she sent and decided to exclude her baking from the food list menu for Christmas this year. I didn't know what to say, but she then told me she was backing out of the invitation to attend Christmas with my family. I was stunned when I heard her make this statement. I tried to talk to her, but she said it was done. I called her unreasonable to decide to bail on the whole family over some cookie sample. That's just freaking crazy and quite unreasonable. We had a full on argument about it, and she stated that my mother caused this. But I told her that my mother is pretty serious and careful about the food she offers to the guests, since we are going to have relatives coming from all sides of the country. She told me to stop mentioning it. Later, I heard her cry despite telling her that her baking is amazing and people have preferences, that's all. Am I the jerk for insisting that her decision was unreasonable? Info. If you're asking whose cookie sample made it to the menu, the answer is my sister and my two cousins. Info. Few things to put on here. My wife wasn't the only one whose sample was rejected. We have sister in laws, brother's wife, and my younger sisters. My mother did not force anyone to participate. It was up to whoever wanted to take part. This is just about the dessert since my mother tends to be very careful in this category, but for other types of foods, dishes, appetizers, salads, stuff like that, is welcome as she stated. Update. Great. So I just got off the phone with my brother, and he told me that his wife is doing the same thing as my wife, and that she has decided to back out of the invitation to spend Christmas with my family as well. Turns out my wife must have told her about her decision, and she decided to follow her lead. My brother is upset, saying my wife is encouraging his wife to do this. I see that the problem has just gotten bigger now. Who knows, my younger sister might join in and decide not to go as well. I don't know how this got out of control so quickly. I guess we'll try to have a discussion with my mother about this soon and see how it goes. What a nightmare. This mother in law is definitely a piece of work. She's obviously trying to pull a power move with her son's wives, and neither of her sons are sticking up for them. Geesh, I think I'd just bring the cookies anyway. Perhaps walk around with a plate and serve them with a big smile on my face. Well, that's not really my style, but I definitely fantasize about it. OP is definitely the butthole. Let's check out the comments where there was no shortage of more funny. Sarksh said, "You're the butthole. I'd never in a million years bake samples to be approved. I'm showing up with my food. Eat it or not. I really don't care. Your mom is the butthole and very, very weird." Available ad said, "Can they ask for a sample of the turkey before they agree to go to Christmas dinner?" Broad Respond added, "I would ask for a sample of their toilet paper. No butt of mine is getting that second grade crap." Comfortable Swing said, "What the F kind of Grinch crap is this anyway? Rejecting Christmas cookies? You can't have too many cookies or too much variety." Erdav replied, "Are you kidding? Surely nobody can ever want more than two kinds of cookies, especially at Christmas." Valis Gratia said, "I bet if someone else from the family would send your wife's sample as theirs, they would get approved. This isn't about your wife's baking. She knows that. I know that. Everyone in AITA knows that. Everyone in your family knows that. Your mother knows that. Even you know that. You are the butthole." Story 3 brings us to Christmas and family dinners, the perfect place to bring up politics? Our next story says no. It's titled, "Am I the jerk for accepting my family's Christmas invitation despite my husband being upset?" I'm a 32-year-old female, and I met this wonderful man, Philip, male, 36, 2 years ago. We got married 4 months ago. For context, I have a 10-year-old son, Billy, from my previous relationship, and my ex isn't in the picture. I have to admit that Philip's relationship with my family isn't so great. They would disagree on a lot of things. For example, he had an argument with my dad when he said that he was keeping their grandson away from them, but Philip stated he wasn't, and that he couldn't visit with Billy because he had work. I was sick at the time. The latest argument was what made things worse. My mom and sister were discussing natural remedies. They're into this stuff. For my niece and Philip, he's a pediatrician, called both of them ignorant for not using meds instead, which caused a huge argument and Philip being no longer welcome at my parents' house. Now they'd sent me and Billy an invitation for Christmas but did not include Philip, which I expected given how strained their relationship has become. I called my mom to confirm that I'll attend, but the minute Philip found out, he went off saying he could not believe I was fine with my family excluding him, and then agreed to go and leave him behind. I told him it's their celebration, and I don't get to decide their guest list for them. And also, I'm not leaving him behind because we did not have any plans for Christmas. He said he thought that we'd automatically celebrate together, the three of us. But now I'm taking Billy away from him as well. I thought that was a bit melodramatic because it's literally just a few hours at my parents' home, but he insisted it was about principle and respect. We had a big argument, and I said that he basically alienated himself by continually picking arguments with my family. But he started ranting, saying it wasn't about the fact that they didn't invite him, but the fact that I was willing to let him spend Christmas alone without me and Billy. We went back and forth on the issue, but do not seem to reach a solution. My parents are used to spending every major holiday with Billy, so you can see how much pressure I'm getting from both sides here. Oh, goodness. Definitely the butthole. It's just a few hours. What the actual heck? I would be so sad and offended if my significant other ditched me and left me alone on Christmas. Pretty sure spending holidays with your spouse, wife, husband, whatever, is a thing. Isn't that why you're with them in the first place? It should come as no surprise that the comments on this one are very one sided. Let's check them out. Your little Ruth said, "How are you not outraged that your parents left your husband out of the invitation to spend Christmas with them? And how could you possibly contemplate leaving your husband alone at Christmas? Do you actually want to be married to him? You accepted an invitation which excludes him, and you think this is reasonable? You're the butthole." Dee said, "Looks like OP's getting divorce papers for Xmas. I know I wouldn't stand for this. I can't imagine her husband will." Diminishing Patience said, "You're the jerk. You're right. You don't get to decide their guest list for them. However, you do get to decide whether or not to spend Christmas with your husband. Every married couple I know would automatically expect to spend Christmas together." EKRF said, "You are so the butthole. Flip it around and have his family accuse you of not bringing their grandson around when you are working. Then try to lecture him on how to treat a kid when he's a freaking pediatrician. If Billy gets sick, don't bother your husband with it. Have your sister and mom treat him with KFC's 11 herbs and spices because, they know better." Story 4 is our last, but gets a bit spicy. It's titled, "Am I the butthole for sitting on my husband's lap during Thanksgiving dinner because all chairs at the table were taken?" I'm a 28-year-old female, and I've been with my husband, Sean, male, 33, for 2 years, married for 5 months. Most of his family are decent people, but his mom can be a little passive aggressive and tends to criticize me a lot. Sean sees it as her still not getting used to me being around. But I don't know, because she treats his ex, Jalissa, good. Mother in law says that Jalissa has been around the family for ages and her past with Sean never affected her relationship with her. Fine, I never minded her attending every holiday and being around till yesterday. We had Thanksgiving dinner at my mother in law's house. Sean went there before me, and when I arrived, it was already dinner time. Everyone was seated, and I saw that all the chairs were taken. I asked mother in law why she didn't save me a seat, and she said, "Sorry," and that one of her granddaughters decided to show up last minute and the chair was taken. I looked at her and at Jalissa, who was sitting next to Sean, and tried to point out how I was more deserving of her chair since I'm the daughter in law. I know, shouldn't have said it. I know. Mother in law flat out said that Jalissa is as much family as me and that it was rude to imply otherwise. Jalissa was nodding confidently while glancing at me. I was so upset I wanted to leave, but decided to just sit on my husband's lap and act as casual as possible. I sat on his lap asking if he was okay with it. Don't worry, I'm petite, he's strong built, and started eating so casually while smiling and complimenting the food and mentioning to Sean how warm and comfortable his lap was now and then. The table went awkwardly silent. Brother in law would try to break the silence and change the subject, but it somehow goes back to being awkward. Mother in law and Jalissa were barely eating and were staring at each other, then at me. eyes wide open. Minutes later, Jalissa excused herself to the bathroom, and so did mother in law. It was still awkward, but I did my best to focus on dinner. Sean was eating as well. Later, there was just so much tension, and mother in law was barely able to speak after Jalissa left. Early, like right after dinner. Sean and I went home, and mother in law tried calling, but then called Sean and texted me saying what I did was inappropriate and it ruined Thanksgiving dinner and made it awkward. She said it wasn't her fault chairs were taken, and I could have dragged a chair from the kitchen, but acted childishly and made Jalissa and family uncomfortable with how inappropriate I was. Edit. I need to mention that even if I took a chair from the kitchen, there was not enough space at the dinner table to fit the chair in. Everyone was sitting next to each other. Love this. Well played, OP. Not the butthole. Pretty sure the mother in law is angling to get Sean and Jalissa back together, and why Sean can't see it boggles my mind. Or he does, and just doesn't care. Very strange and questionable. Let's jump to the comments where everyone, true to Reddit fashion, wanted to know more about the chairs. Why is it always about the chairs? Jack's Bravesman said, not the butthole, but the whole ordeal could have been avoided had your husband done what he should have done and gave you his seat while he went to fetch another one. In fact, he should have already had an empty seat beside him waiting for you. I can't imagine putting my wife in such an awkward situation. Kapal Maya said, yes, why did the husband not make sure there was space for his wife? 9 and 3 of 4 said, why is the husband okay with his ex being treated better? Anti-Search added, why was the ex even there? Basic B said, why is this not the top question? Gemma said, info. Why did your husband not notice there was no chair for you until you showed up? Did he just forget you existed? Surely you just go and get another chair. This whole situation is ridiculous. Lakar added, yes, I'm so curious where the husband was in all of this. Sitting mute at the table the entire time? Did he say a word when there was no chair for OP? When she sat on him? When they left? Lucas Tutz added, he was obviously taking his role as a chair seriously. If you've enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Thanks, and bye for now.